Please subscribe to this channel.
La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Maulana. La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Maulana. La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Maulana.
Bismillahi wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. Inshallah, today is a continuation from the book of Salat. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Inna awwala ma yuhasabu anhu al-abdu yawm al-qiyamah min amalihi salatuhu." On the day of reckoning, or on the day of judgment, amongst all the deeds of a servant, the first and foremost that shall be accounted for is the prayer of the servant. That is the first thing Allah shall look at. فَإِنْ صَلَحَتْ, if it comes out that the prayer or the prayers were well established, فَقَدْ أَفْلَحَ وَنَجَحَ, فَقَدْ أَفْلَحَ وَنَجَحَ, then that servant is saved and is victorious on that day. Then that servant is saved from hellfire and qualifies to enter Jannah. وَإِنْ فَسَدَتْ, but if it comes out that the prayers were badly established, they were not established well, خَابَ وَخَسَرَ, then that servant will be among the losers. Hell shall be his abode. فَهِيَ أَعْظَمُ أَرْكَانُ الْإِسْلَامِ, so prayer is the biggest, the strongest pillar of Islam. Ba'da shahadatain, after testifying there is no God but Allah and that Prophet Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, what comes next is prayer. وَهِيَ صِلَةُ بَيْنَ الْعَبْدِ وَرَبِّهِ, prayer is the connection. Prayer is what connects a servant and his Lord. Prayer is what connects us and Allah. افترضها عليه, that is why Allah made prayer compulsory on his servant. وعظم شأنها, and that is why Allah raises its status. ومدح أهلها, he praises those who observe the prayer. في أكثر من 80 موضعا في القرآن, which are mentioned more than 80 times in the Holy Quran. فهي بمنزلة الرأس في الجسد, prayer is considered metaphorically like the head of a body. Everything about the human anatomy is carried in the head. So once the head is cut off, any parts of the human being can be cut off and he or she will still be alive. But once the head is being cut off, then that becomes the end of that person. So is prayer. Prayer is the head of all deeds. سئل المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم عن أفضل الأعمال. A Sahaba came asking the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that amongst the deeds, which of the deeds is the best of deeds? The Messenger of Allah answered, "As-salatu في وقتها, observing prayers at their appointed time. قيل, then he was asked, ثم ماذا, what comes next after prayer? قال, he answered, بر الوالدين, being good to one's parents, obedient to one's parents. Your father and your mother, you must be good to them, you must be obedient to them. This is the next deed after prayer according to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Qila, he was asked again, Summa maza. Then after being good to one's parent, what is next? Ya Rasulallah, O Messenger of Allah, Qala, he said, Al-jihadu fi sabilillah, striving, struggling in the cause of Allah and in the path of Allah. That is jihad fi sabilillah. فهي قرة عين الموحدين. Prayer brings happiness to people who worship Allah alone. وراحتهم إذا حزبهم أمر. It also brings peace and satisfaction to people anytime they are hit with any form of trial. It is prayer that comforts them. Prayer becomes their comforter. In all of what they do, they are following the footsteps of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. كما أنها تمحو الخطايا. Prayer erases the sins of the individual. كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, as it's being reported from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, أرأيتم لو أن نهرا بباب أحدكم يغتسل منه كل يوم 5 مرات. Had it been that a river flows at the doorsteps of every one of you, and then each and every one of you comes out of the door to bath, to take a bath from the river 5 times in a day. هل يبقى من درنه شيء? Is it possible that death, any form of death, will remain on the individual body? Is it possible? After taking your bath 5 times a day from that river, will you still have a stain on your body? Qalu. When this was asked, the Sahaba answered, La, there is no way you would have any stain or dirt on your body. Qala, the Messenger of Allah said, فَذَلِكَ مِثْلُ الصَّلَوَاتِ الْخَمْسِ. A parable or an example of the 5 daily prayers. That is what it does. يَمْهُ اللَّهُ بِهِنَّ الْخَطَايَا. When they are observed properly, Allah uses it to wash the sins of the individual. وقد أمرنا صلى الله عليه وسلم بالمحافظة عليها. Indeed, the Messenger of Allah prays upon us to observe the 5 daily prayers. وقال, he said, من حافظ عليها. من حافظ عليها. He said, anyone who establishes the prayer, observes the prayer at their right time, كانت له نورا وبرهانا ونجاة يوم القيامة. Then that person is guaranteed of nur, that is light, وبرهانا, and a strong evidence, ونجاة, and a victory يوم القيامة, on the day of judgment. It is guaranteed for that person. ومن لم يحافظ عليها, but he who does not establishes nor observes the prayer well, لم تكن له نورا ولا برهانا ولا نجاة, then that person is far from light, is not guaranteed of an evidence of salvation, and is not guaranteed of victory on the day of judgment. وَحُشِرَ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ مَعَ قَارُونَ, and on judgment day, that individual, that individual shall be resurrected from his grave amongst Karun wa Firaun, and amongst Firaun wa Ubay ibn Khalaf, and Ubay ibn Khalaf, the big pagan in the era of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.